Tracy Myers, NHL.com. Just how nice is it to be home, and how much do you guys need to feed off of the energy
Yeah.
when you get in there tomorrow?
Yeah, we've got to do what they did. We got to hold serve here at home, and it is an advantage, and the home crowd gives you an advantage and energy this time of year, and we got to use that. I'm excited about coming home and playing in front of our fans, and hopefully scratching our way back in this series. Hey, Saad.
Hey, Pete, Saudis with The Athletic. You guys haven't been down 2-0, but you guys have been down 2-1, and
Yeah.
it's a one-game difference. What's the messaging kind of there where if you take care of this game, you're kind of right back where you were in the last two series?
Yeah, I mean, it's not unfamiliar territory for us. We faced a lot of things, including, straight out elimination in the playoffs. So I don't think we're overwhelmed by the situation. I think there's some real good building blocks in the last game that we've got to take and continue to put in place. And, you just got to grind out one win, and then, the series looks different.
Second row left, Greg.
Greg Wyshynski,
Greg.
ESPN. Hi, Pete, how are you? That game definitely felt like if it gets to 3-1,
Yeah.
maybe everybody's exhaling a little bit more. What was it about that game to be unable to increase the lead?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, they have a part in that. They're a very good team, very good defensive team. Probably, well, absolutely the deepest D-core in the league, 1 to 6. And I thought Aiden Hill made a couple saves at key moments for them, to keep it at 2-1 and then 2-2, in overtime. So I think all those things go into it. I mean, we're trying to extend the lead. We're not sitting back. I thought we were defending well. We've been in that position a bunch of times. We've done a good job of closing it out. They got to give them credit. They made a play. They got a couple big saves at the right time. That's those little things are the important pieces between winning and losing this time of year.
Back to the front left side.
So
Pete, you've talked a lot about leadership this year. Just, when you talk about moments where leadership is necessary, is this kind of where you also, along with yourself, but rely on guys like Joe and Jamie and those guys?
Yeah, and again, we got leadership in spades. I think you saw it in our game 2, our reaction to game 1. I mean, game 2 was, much better, and that's our leadership grabbing it and going, okay, let's get this to the level it needs to be at. So, we've been a response team all year, and it's the first time in the playoffs I think we've lost 2 in a row. So, I'm excited about our response.
Pete,
How are you?
Patrick from RDS.
Yep.
So, just following up on the leadership, we know you were unlucky in the overtime games and you didn't get rewarded for your chances. Is there something that needs to be done regarding the leadership that, calm the group down in those situations, or has it already been done maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think overtime is a leadership thing. I think overtime's an interesting one. We've been a really good first and third period team all year. We haven't been a good second period team. It's a long change in overtime, and we haven't been a good overtime team. So is there something there to that? I think there is. That's probably a deeper dive in the off season than a quick fix between games. 2 and 3 here. But the bottom line is you got to find a way, and it's not like we didn't get an opportunity. I would argue our opportunity was better than their opportunity in overtime last night. So you just got to stick it in the net too. But big picture, I think we've lost a lot of games in overtime this year. The regular season's different, but I think when I look at the postseason and the long change in the second period, that might be something we might have to dive deeper into, later on.
Front row on the right.
Pete, Kevin Sherrington, Dallas
Kevin.
Morning News. Hey. So you've been a response team, especially in these playoffs, and that has been in times when y'all have not played as well and then
Yeah.
responded well. This game you did play well
Yeah.
overall. So how does that change the dynamic of that?
Yeah.
Do you just look at it as that, well, it was a fluke play there that got to the tie there
Yeah.
in the third?
Well, I think it's a great question. You're right. For the first time in the playoffs, we're not asking for a response to a poor effort or a below average effort. We're asking to a response to losing a game. But the response is to the fact you're down 2-0 and you can't afford to go down 3-0. So that desperation has to kick in. So it is a different response we're looking for, but at the same time, we have that in us, and I think that desperation will be there. Hey, Greg.
I guess, hello, Pete. I guess one of the positives to come out of the games in Vegas is that Jason, scores 2
Yeah.
consecutive games. Is that just puck luck? Is there anything material that you saw different in his game in those games?
No, what he was just due. I mean, he had looks exactly like those looks. I can't tell you how many times in the series before against Seattle. There was a stretch there, probably the first half of his slump, where he was getting away from some of the things that allow him to score. I thought he got back to it as the Seattle series went on. He just had some bad luck around the net, and now he's kind of back. And he's a streaky scorer. I mean, he could score every night here for the rest of the playoffs. He's that type of player.
You know Jay Gottinger probably better than anybody here. Just what have you thought of him so far in this series? And we always talk about him coming back from a loss. What do you expect to see from him tomorrow?
Continued great things. I mean, you look at period 1 and game 1, he's the reason we're still in it. Throughout the entire game, last game, I mean, you can't ask much more of him. We've probably asked too much of him at times, but, that's what he's there for and why he's, obviously so talented and got the pedigree that he's built for himself so far. And, he'll continue to give us a chance to win like he's obviously asking of himself. And, we got to take advantage of how great he's playing for us.
From ESPN, there it is. Give me a little Coach Wedgwood on the Golden Knights. What do they do well defensively to kind of give you guys some problems offensively?
I think they do a good job just kind of, digging pucks out of corners. They've won some wall battles against us that have, led to some chances, and I think they've kind of taken advantage of some, misplays on our part on getting the puck deep at times throughout the game. They've got a good rush game, and unfortunately, when they start rolling in our end, they've been able to create some stuff to the net and win some box outs. But I think looking at ourselves, it's some easable fixes, some potential fixes on our part. Managing the puck a little better, ending plays a little bit sooner. You take the puck out of some of their skill guys' hands, and it shuts things down. But that's all in-house fixes. It's they've taken advantage of what we've given them, and you obviously take that away, they don't get much. So both teams this time of year are playing exactly the same way. No one wants to make mistakes. It's pucks in, pucks out, and once opportunity arises, you got to make the most of it. And right now they're 2 up on us for that reason.
Front right.
Oh, there we go. Leah Simakopoulos, Dallas Morning News. Pete was talking a little bit about overtime and the challenges that you guys have had in overtime, and said that might be more of an off-season fix, but obviously a lot of games this postseason are going to overtime. So what have you seen in overtime, and what are the immediate fixes that you think need to go into place before the next game?
I don't know if there's a technical immediate fix to anything. It's just unfortunately one-shot wins in that time frame, and we've been on the short end of the stick in the playoffs, and obviously, like I said, throughout the year. But I mean, there's just every detail obviously gets heightened. Every potential mistake, change, puck on net. I mean, the goals throughout all playoffs have pretty much been scored, inside the hash mark. I think the Toronto series had a couple, point shots off face-offs that you saw go in. But it's pucks to the net. It's, making sure you got your guy a little bit more communication, a little more desperation, and it's not like we don't have that. It's just obviously you've been on the other side of it, and then that potential thought process kind of creeps in of what's wrong. I don't think anyone in our room's too worried about it. Teams go down 2-0 all the time, and they held their home ice, and it's obviously our turn to do the same. And we'll get a bounce here and win in overtime if we get there. But obviously, until that comes, we're just focused on playing a full 60 minutes, get the win in regulation, and then when it comes down to it, I'm sure we'll find a way to win big here if we go 60 plus.
Me again. I'm asking a lot of the guys about Joe Pavelski, not so much on the ice, but off the ice, what we don't see with, you know, the leadership, the personality and everything like that, and just what have you gotten to know about him in the time that you've been with him?
Well, he's got the nickname Captain America on the ice, and he kind of has that personality off the ice. I'm a big fan of that character, but he's just a top-class human being. I think, you know, what he's done with Wyatt, obviously bringing him to his house and seeing Wyatt grow up and some of the videos and stories he has of just, you know, making fun of him and also teaching him and things like that. It's, you know, it's one of those guys that growing up and, you know, as I started my career, he's obviously been a top-tier athlete and player throughout the league. And, you know, him and, you know, Joe Thornton there, you're like, oh, those are two guys that seem like they'd be cool to hang around with. And you weren't wrong kind of coming into the league. I mean, he's got world-class hockey talent. He's a great golfer. A ton of our team is a big fan of golfers, so you get to talk to him and things like that. And, you know, I've hung out with him outside of the rink, obviously, numerous times throughout the year, dinners and things like that. And it's just, you know, one of those guys that you can walk away from your hockey career after and being like, you know, who'd you really like? You know, I'm a big fan of Anton Strawman. My time in Arizona, you know, one of those names that come up. Scott Clemens has been a big, you know, mentor of mine, and I'm sure for a lot of players it's Joe Pavelski, and then a lot of friends it's going to be, you know, Joe was a great guy, a great teammate. That's just, you know, one of the biggest things, and I think for a lot of people, you play your hockey career, you know, you hope to have a legacy and points and all that, but, you know, in my mind too, when you walk away, you hope to have a lot of friends and a lot of respect, and I don't think he's going to have a short list of people to say nice things about him, and he's continuing to do that. And obviously, there's a big goal for him here at the by the end of the career of what he really wants. And you know, our whole team's, you know, pulling for him, and going to do everything we can to make sure he achieves that along with us.
Hey, Yanni Saad from The Athletic. Just how are you feeling, and you know, what has this last few days been like for you as you kind of work back from it?
You know, it's getting better every day. So that's a good thing. You know, we're doing a lot of progress here in the few days it's gone by here. So slowly but surely, getting close.
Hi, Tracy Myers, NHL.com. Quick follow-up off of that. Do you hope to play tomorrow?
You know, I hope to play every night, but you know, you know, it's going to be all up tomorrow. You know, it's kind of like a day-to-day situation right now. I'm just going to see how it feels tomorrow and go from there.
Just with what you've been able to see watching the games, what have you seen on as far as how the Stars have been able to defend the Golden Knights thus far?
You know, it's tight games, tight checking games. Not a lot of extra room out there. So I feel like for us, you know, there's probably a few things we can sharpen up a little bit, little details here and there, to make sure that, you know, we get that one goal advantage instead of, you know, being down one. So, but it's how it is this time of year. It's all tight games, close games, as it should be. So those little small things, you know, makes a huge difference.
Hey, Greg Wyshynski with ESPN. Can you give us an insight as to like what the vibe is behind the scenes? What are people saying after Game 2? What's the feeling of the team like after being down 0-2?
Of course, at the start, you know, right after the game, you know, you're down, you know, tough game, you lose in overtime. It's always hard. But you know, I think once we got going and got on the plane, and you know, we got that mentality like, hey, you know, it's, you know, they won their games at home, and now it's our turn to do the same. So you know, it's a good confidence we had in there, and you know, now we know we're just gonna take care of business at home, and you know, it's gonna be nice to get the home crowd going tomorrow, get the American Airlines Center pumping, and you know, go from there.